This week in Saskatoon courtrooms, a man named Russell Dennis Wolf pleaded guilty to 20 historical child pornography, child prostitution, and sexual assault offenses. Now, this is historical because the charges stem back as far as 1997 and as recently as 2010. So over a 13-year period, Wolf sexually assaulted and obtained the sexual services of girls as young as 9 years old. This was a big investigation back in 2014 when members of the Internet Child Exploitation Unit found images and videos of 13 local girls on Wolf's computer. It's after he was caught possessing and sharing child pornography. Now, this case was scheduled to proceed to trial. The Crown says that through the guilty pleas, it spares the victims from having to go through the trauma of testifying. We won't know the details of the case until Wolf is sentenced. The Crown is considering making a dangerous offender application. It's a sentencing process that determines whether someone should spend an indeterminate amount of time in prison. We'll know more about how the Crown and defense will proceed on April 3rd. And a conclusion in the 9-year legal odyssey for a Saskatoon Hilltop. Adrian Charles was a star running back with the team when he was charged in 2008. It's after police searched his vehicle and found a loaded handgun under the passenger side floor mat, as well as 5 grams of cocaine. Now, Charles testified that the gun and drugs belonged to his passenger, who he had just dropped off moments before police had pulled him over. So he took the case to trial in 2011 and he was found not guilty. Here's where things get interesting. The Crown successfully appealed and a new trial was ordered for Charles in 2013. After that trial, Charles was found guilty. Then he appealed, was successful, and a third trial was scheduled to take place in Saskatoon this month. But this week, Charles pleaded guilty to being in a vehicle knowing there was a loaded, prohibited firearm inside, thus ending this long court process. He was sentenced to a 6-month conditional sentence, which is essentially a jail sentence served in the community under conditions. And this week, a former chief of the Yellow Quill First Nation was sentenced in Saskatoon to 4 years in prison for sexually assaulting 2 young girls back in 2009-2010. Now, the case has taken a while in the court system because the accused, Henry Hank Niapatung, failed to show up twice for his trial. A third trial date was scheduled this week, but instead Niapatung pleaded guilty to 2 counts of sexual assault. Court heard he assaulted 2 girls, 10 and 12, about 30 times over nearly 2 years. The victims were in court for the sentencing and provided devastating statements describing feeling uncomfortable in their bodies and feeling uncomfortable around men in general. Now, the judge, interestingly, admitted that he thought 5 or 6 years would be appropriate in this case. However, he did accept the 4-year joint recommendation from the Crown and Defense. As always, you can read more detailed accounts of these stories at thestarphoenix.com.